We kindly request the students to settle faster as we are about to begin the session.
We have an important announcement to make. In line with our commitment to a plastic-free HR summit, there's a drinking water facility located outside the hall for your convenience. We kindly request the students to switch off or put their phones on silent as we are about to begin.
We kindly request the esteemed panelists to take the seat on the stage. A warm welcome to one and all present here. I, Subhash Krishna
And I, Sanya Arora.
of PGP Batch 2224, warmly welcome you to the third panel discussion of the day and the last panel discussion of the HR Summit on the topic Hybrid Decade and Employee Performance Management, Measuring Productivity and Impact. As organizations embrace a hybrid work model, the convergence of technology and the human workforce is reshaping the landscape of performance management. In this session, we'll delve into the intricate balance between technological advancements and the human touch in assessing employee productivity and gauging their contributions. With utmost gratitude, we would now like to introduce our esteemed panelists for the day.
It is my privilege to introduce our first panelist, Shri Amit Shah, General Manager HR, Schneider Electrics. Sir's journey reflects his commitment to continuous growth. Holding a master's degree in personal management from JDC Bitco Pune University, he has honed his HR acumen to a fine point. Sir's professional persona is characterized by his prowess in generalist HR practices, adept competency mapping, and seamless alignment of human capital with business processes. Specializing in recruitment and the full spectrum of HR generalist profiles, he has been a catalyst for change and progress throughout his career. Sir, we are honored to have you here with us today.
I now have the pleasure of introducing our second panelist for the day, Ms. Indu Kapoor, Vice President, Head of Business HR at ITC Infotech. Armed with a bachelor's degree in industrial relationship and personnel management from Delhi University, ma'am has orchestrated people-centric strategies that resonate with the innovative ethos of the organization. Prior to this, she held the distinguished position of VP HR, Global HR Head of Finance and Accounting Vertical at EXL, HR Business Partner for R&D at Alcatel and Lucent, and as a HR Generalist at the prestigious Taj Hotel Resorts and Palaces. An energetic and passionate HR professional, Ms. Kapoor's repertoire extends to the specialities including mergers and acquisition, integration, change management, leadership development, and organizational talent strategy and workforce management and development. We welcome you to the panel discussion, ma'am.
I now have the pleasure of introducing our third panelist, Major Manohar Diali, retired Head of Human Resources at Infinity Learn. Sir's educational journeys started with a bachelor's degree in economics, PMIR, and English from Delhi University, followed by a PG diploma in general management, specializing in HR and marketing from IIM Lucknow. At present, Sir serves as the Head of Human Resources at Infinity Learn, where his strategic insights resonate with the evolving landscape of education. Prior to this role, he held various prestigious positions like Director of Human Resources at Indus Trust, Vertical Leads of HR at Capgemini, etc. Before embarking on his corporate journey, he served as the company commander and subunit manager in the Indian Army, embodying leadership and discipline. His path to leadership began as a gentleman cadet at the Officers Training Academy, Chennai, where his commitment to excellence was nurtured. It's an honor to have you here with us today, sir.
It's my pleasure in introducing the fourth panelist for the day, Shri Pankaj Shankar, Senior Vice President, Human Resources at Intellect Design Arena. Sir is a global strategic HR leader with a career spanning over 3 decades with extensive work experience in the power, information technology, and healthcare sectors. He is known for the people-centric leadership style and the passion for people. He has been part of the core team responsible for acquisition and hands-on experience in post-acquisition organization design, culture, and HR integration. He has been a regular industry faculty member on various soft skills and management topics. For his exemplary HR leadership and contribution to the industry, he's been awarded with the HR Superstar Award by the HR Today Forum America in the year 2018. He has also been recognized with Business Enablement Excellence Award for outstanding contributions in the human resources area. We welcome you to the panel discussion, sir.
I would now take the privilege to introduce the moderator for this discussion, Professor Sanjeev Parashar, Professor Marketing, Chairperson Healthcare Vertical, IIM Raipur. Sir has over 3 decades of academic experience of teaching postgraduate management courses, corporate training, and consulting. He has published many research papers and case studies in prominent international journals of repute, like the Journal of Retailing and Consumer Services, Journal of Consumer Marketing, Tourism Economics, and Journal of Global Information Management. Case studies authored by him are available at Harvard Business Publishing, Ivy Publishing, and the Emerging Markets Case Study Collection. We welcome you, sir.
I now request Professor Sanjeev Parashar to welcome the panelists with a bouquet. Shri Amit Shah, Ms. Indu Kapoor, Major Manohar Diali, Shri Pankaj Shankar. I now request Professor Rashmi Shukla, Chairperson Placement, to welcome the moderator, Professor Sanjeev Parashar, with a bouquet.
I would now request the moderator, Professor Sanjeev Parashar, to take the panel discussion ahead.
Good afternoon. The fastest growing economy before pandemic, India. Fastest growing economy post-pandemic, India. We are the world's largest human resource cohort, 1.4 billion on this planet. And further, below 35 years is 1 billion. Average age of Indians, 29 years. And then there is a corporate world. 2 different genres meeting each other everyday basis. The one which has technology in them, they meet the genre which is trying to strive and learn on the daily basis, because we grew up not with so technology and beyonds. There is a genre which is meeting another genre. The first one is the one which has just passed through the pace called materialistic world. We were into possessions, and we are meeting the people of your genre everyday basis, which is nearly amaterialistic. We come from the generation wherein I would always say people above 25 years of my age as the next generation or before generation. But with you people, every 5 years is presumably a new generation. There is a new word, and there I have with me 4 very senior, experienced, learned executives from the country called India, where the engine is being driven for the economy by the corporates. And that's what exactly gives us a reason to warmly welcome each one of them with a round of applause for them again. My final year students would understand another 6 months down, coming out of the place on Sundays, believe you me, is next to impossible. Mondays you can skip, but Sundays you have two bosses. And there is the call of the day. I'll not take much time, but I will immediately come down on the topic, and that is performance management, more specifically in something we are terming as tech head. Traditionally, the managerial task is always to make people capable of joint performance, and very importantly, to see that their strengths are actually becoming effective, and something that is weakness is becoming or rendered irrespective, or a situation what we call invariably irrelevant. Taking the topic further on this side and directly moving over to the largest steam engine now, we expect India to be the manufacturing sector. And I request my first colleague over there to immediately talk his experiences, more importantly from the corporation, none other than Schneider Electric. I request sir, you to sketch performance appraisal or performance management or performance measurement in general, because half of my crowd sitting over there, they are yet to start with human resource as a course or subject.
Good afternoon. Thanks for this opportunity, first of all, and sincere gratitude for this. The subject what is been given here is hybrid ticket and how the performance management and measuring the productivity on it. So if you look at, like, we were just discussing in between, the performance management, we all are, I mean, you also are going to be after completion of your course an employee, and what for we are going to the office or factory and all. So everything is linked to the performance. So if you look at what exactly the performance is, the alignment of the goals, alignment of the expectations of the corporate or management with your performance. So that is what is a performance management basically. Now, when we talk about alignment, sir has already spoken about pre-COVID and post-COVID fastest growing economy. So we are growing, I mean, pre-COVID also, and if I talk about my industry or my company, post-COVID also, we are year-on-year basis, 18 to 20% of growth is, we are marking now. So this growth comes out from where? The people, those who are working, the people, those who are associated with us. Now, what does it mean? Performance management. So when I speak to you about the alignment of expectations with the business, it all, what are the challenges, or what is the expectations from the top management for the specific business which has been given. So the key result areas or key objective which gets drilled down to the team and which gets communicated to the team, and based on that, the SMART goals. Because when you have a performance management, definitely you need to have a goal which is a specific, measurable, achievable, and time bound. So these kind of, when you have this kind of SMART goals, and then when there is a tracking mechanism developed for it, definitely the performance will be measured and the productivity of that particular area would be counted on. So that's specifically I'm talking about manufacturing sector, wherein I'm just giving an example of, let's say, the guy who is having a project management guy. So what does SMART goals mean? So project management is nothing but, he has to take care of, let's say, 10 customers in a year, or I'm just giving an example. So 10 customers, when he has to end-to-end, he has to collaborate, coordinate with internal departments and finally the end result should be the product is delivered to the customer. So that is how the SMART goal is been defined. And that's what is a performance management, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's all about the game of creating a culture that inspires performance. And we move over to the realm of effectiveness. There is a question of morale, and there is a question of higher productivity and lot more. Who else but the someone who has worked with corporates like Alcatel and Taj? Indu, over to you. And I'm told Miss Indu has also worked on a very complex framework with the help of some professors from Harvard. We'll listen to you over and again. Immediately, in the short term, tell us, how do you frame the term performance appraisal in your own perspectives?
Sure. So as you'd mentioned, I'll keep it relevant to, the audience here, and I'll just try and call out some of the similar, aspects and some different aspects. So all of us, all of you are very used to 4 terms, right? Every term you give exams, and after every exam, you get your marks. Corporates also have a very similar culture. They just call it with different names. There are 4 quarters, and at the end of every quarter, we get our results in form of not our mark sheet, but the company mark sheet, which tells us revenue, gross margin, profitability, debt, liability, things which are common. You do hard work, you get the results, right? Any quarter that you work very hard, you get your good marks. Any quarter that you miss to study, you don't get the marks. The only difference here is that each one lives their own destiny, right? There is no collective destiny of all the class students together. But when we get into the corporate, sooner than later, you realize that it's not, organizations are not individual sports. They are team sport. Only when we all play it together, which means when one function supports the other to be able to meet objectives, when HR supported by finance and finance supported by facility, and all of these functions supporting the operations and operations supporting sales, really get to the marketplace and sell something and make money, is where everyone gets money. So anyone falters, everyone falters. So I think that's the difference that we learn when we get to corporate. The only additional aspect here I would want to highlight is, you do extracurricular, organization also do extracurriculars, you get certificate there, you get rewards. One particular aspect which I find very interesting about organizations, in class, you can only have first, second, third, or toppers, right? Limited number of toppers. In organizations, if you really put your heart, mind, and gut to play, the number of toppers which can really come into play are far higher. So, for everything that may scare you to get to that world, it is absolutely, I would say, a little more complex, but a lot more fun version. And the best thing, here you pay to learn, there you get paid while you still learn. So that's the simple understanding that I would share.
Beautiful. That's the best possible learning for we people also today. Indian Army, and then Capgemini and Infinity Learn. Major Diyali, how do you define, or how do you phrase the term performance appraisal for the newcomers as my students over here?
Thank you, sir. And very good afternoon to all of you here. And I admire your patience sitting right after lunch to be awake here in this panel discussion. So thank you for your patience. Many of you would have worked somewhere before coming to IIMs. And for many of you, you would be going for the first time. When you go to an office, people do something, right? So who tells you what is to be done and kya karna hai, and why is this to be done, kyun karna hai, and how do you measure that whatever I am doing, what is it impacting? How do I impact life? How do I impact the organization? So all of this comes under the gamut of performance measurement. Like Indu said, that the organization is performing, that is because all of you perform, so organization performs. So the whole process of setting up goals in the alignment of vision of the organization and delivering those goals so the organization thrives and you thrive and industry thrives, that is designed in the performance appraisal system. And as we approach, we'll discuss further and talk more about it and elaborate. Thank you.
Thank you, Major Dayali. And I remember 1997, I was sitting opposite my boss over there in JUSE, Japanese Union on Scientists and Engineers in Osaka. And he said something very peculiar to me, which I never understood. And he said, you know, essence of performance management is just to sit away from the team and just see to it that you place ownership in the hands of the employees, and you are not supposed to police them, you have to coach them. It took me years, and someone reverberated the same words today at lunch just before this particular session, and he's none other than Shri Pankaj Shankar. Pankaj Shankar, over to you with the most beautiful thought you got me today. It's really, really a paradigm shift.
Yeah, actually, thank you very much and very good afternoon, all of you. It's my pleasure to be here, and thanks to Team IIM Raipur for inviting all of us, panelists earlier and even the team now. But before I get to the topic, I want to just create some energy in the room because you all had lunch, as Major was saying, and he wanted to really make your eye open, but perhaps he could do that. But I just want to make your eyes wider open further. So when I say something, you just repeat. Okay? Yes or no? Good. Because see, I want you to be, I go to London, to Harvard, because we select some interns from there. And I represent a company called Intellect Design Arena Limited. We are into financial world, banking technology or fintech world. And we sell our products to any bank in the world. And you will be proud, by sharing this to any of your colleagues and know how people that from the Indian soil, we are the only company who competes of any of the banking product company in the world. Out of any 5 banks in the world, at least 3 of them we will be working with. So that's a company called Intellect Design. And all of us, in some or form of the fashion, we are part of those products, which is being implemented across in Indian banks also. So first, I just want to make some noise with all of you. From all of us, we just want to thank you for the kind of hospitality and other things which you have seen from since last 2 days. So 3 cheers for IIM Raipur. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hip hip. This was from all of us and the panelists sitting here who were speaking earlier. So good job done, guys. I think it's wonderful, because why I'm speaking like this, all of us will give you some knowledge, some sharing, some of our, past experiences. But then important is that what you pick up, that simplicity is very important. While we go to various colleges, like I go to, somebody pass out from IMT Dubai and Ghaziabad, we go to Dubai, hire some people from. So difference is just how simple and effective you are in your communication, your practical approach. That's what sets you apart. Otherwise, the courses are more or less similar in any of the management colleges. Right or wrong? Right? Coming back to the performance management, as I'm being asked by Professor Prasar. First of all, I started my career with a company called Hindalco Industry. It's a very large manufacturing organization. Long time back, almost in 91, I started my career. So almost 32 years now. But I tell you with a lot of pride, with all of you should listen, and all the panelists would agree with me that after a certain level, like for example, if I recall my days correctly, after GM, there was no performance appraisal. Why? In those companies, and that to companies like Birla's, okay? Because it was believed that if you achieve certain level in the organization, there is no KRA for you, because you are part of running the entire business strategies or business outcome of the organization. So there is not going to be any performance appraisal for you till certain level up to GM. Yes, you have MBOs, you have KRAs, you have 6 monthly and so on and so forth. But that time we didn't have, because I was just personal officer that time, I didn't have the value of understanding all those. Now, working for the organization for the last 14 years, the current one, we do not have performance appraisal for the last 3-4 years. Now, what does that mean to the traditional system of performance appraisal? We do not have. none of us software engineer or program manager or a team leader or business analyst or any of the VP have any performance appraisal, which is there on, say, online, offline, paper, goals. No. It is a system which is continuous performance assessment. So what does that mean to you is, or all of us, every 3 months, the manager is supposed to give you a feedback, which is not being called as a feedback, just for a change for all of us. It's called feed forward. Are you ready for the next set of targets, promotions, careers, roles, which you are envisaging as an individual? Are you ready for that? If you are not ready, you will get the feedback. If you're ready, he will give you feed forward, which will actually help you to embark your journey for the next set of career goals. So gradually, not only our organization, we are not so different, but then not only Intellect Design, but many other organizations, particularly in the IT sector, they are just getting away from the regimental or traditional performance management system. With all respect, sir, to all of you and all the people out here, it has to be a continuous professional and personal dialogue so that it helps you to achieve your career goals. No longer. And just remember, 30 years back, those organizations never had beyond GM. I mean, you can't become a VP or so in a Birlas and all. It requires a lot of multi skills and multi achievements. But then there also there is no career performance appraisal was there. And some of my colleagues might agree, ITC and all, they were pioneering in driving some of the HR reformation early days. Talking about 1980s and so. So maybe you might be also experiencing or reading on Google and some of the net and other things, but be ready, because the basic instinct for any human being while you work for an organization is it has to have a trust. It has to have a belief that I have hired individual from IIM Raipur. He brings minimum this set of traits and characteristics. So he is bound to perform at this level. He won't go below the certain level. So that is the start of the performance culture. And from there on, your feed forward method helps you to take up higher roles. That's what I'll say.
Thank you. Thank you. So very pertinent and so very enlightening. And that's true. Moving from feedback system to feed forward system. Yes, the Wuhan virus has given us new thoughts, new way of life, remote working, flexi placing, flexi timing, working on multiple time zones. And very importantly, the work-life balance is not balanced now. It's tilting towards life. It's tilting towards experience. It's tilting towards something family and much more. I invite now again over to Mr. Amit Shah to dwell further out there on performance management, how exactly is being put into one of the largest R&D engineering corporations.
What I was mentioning, why we are in the organization, what is the purpose of individual in an organization. So exactly post COVID, if you look at hybrid work culture when it started, earlier it used to happen, the review used to happen annually. Somehow pre-COVID, the review used to happen half yearly. And now the sir has said quarterly review is happening. Moreover, what we are experiencing for this continuous feedback is we as an organization have SIM culture. We called it as a SIM culture, which is nothing but short interval management process. So what is SIM culture is, there is a meetings which are happening at shop floor up to management level, up to leadership level. So SIM 1, SIM 2, SIM 3, SIM 4, and SIM 5. So it's we have implemented SPS, that is Schneider Production System, which is similar to Toyota Production System. So this particular piece of communication is been taken care by human resources, and this is basically a continuous feedback or continuous feedback which needs to be taken by manager at what the task which is been given to him and what is being done by the individual. At the same time, the continuous feedback or the monthly communication at the organization level, what is achievement, what exactly needs to be done further and all, is been given to all the shop floor employees as well as all the management employees also. So the transparency as well as the feedback mechanism, which has increased a lot post this starting from this hybrid ticket. At the same time, the very important part which is actually looked into or taken care by organizations are technology. Because when people are working from home, definitely the technology which driven by for them to show what exactly they have been done is very important. So that's my takeaway.
Thank you, Shah sir. We understand performance management system per se is a cue to training, it's cue to motivation, it's cue to performance, supervision and incentivation and motivation, and large number of factors within the HR system over there in the organizations. So I would request Ms. Indu Kapoor to just dwell on the framework you were referring to, and let's each one of us learn from the new framework that you people have created within your system.
See, I won't call it new, but it happened for the entire world. It happened for us as well. It's just that as an organization, we decided to take complete advantage of the system. We knew that we are going to be working remotely. And I think, our CEO had that vision that if we have to do it, let's do it right. And that's where, we really actually got on to, with the Professor Prithvi Raj, who was from Harvard and was consulting TCS at that point in time, as to how do you really create that whole hybrid work environment, and how do you enable teams and employees to not only work, but excel and manage in that high stress environment. Of course, during pandemic, it was really at the peak. And I think few things that really helped, in addition to the pilots and the guidance that we received from Dr. Prithvi, was that we ensured that we do it together, which means we never really thought that it's our framework. We took guidance from the academia. Second, we really had multiple rounds of symposiums and feedback sessions with our clients, because it was important that we understand their expectation. Different client segments have different expectations and different fears and requirements. So I think taking them on our side was very important. Last but not the least was the employees. While of course in the beginning it was all forced for all of us, at all bad times as well, each organization had certain percentage which still had to come to work, and we had that too. So I think keeping it one together from all lenses and ensuring that it's not just HR working on it, but all of us working together and giving our inputs made it really come holistically. The second thing that we did is we kept it transparent, which means that if there are differences, if there are inequities, if there are employees who are required to be in office while there are others who would not have to come to office at all, we would keep it transparent in terms of, what makes us take that decision. It's not that we have certain additional controls and we're just using it on our discretion, but what are the principles, which means client centricity, client requirement, operational efficiency, and the project phase. Depending upon which client, which project phase are you in, is wherein the model in a way advises each one to be either in office or in a hybrid environment or fully remote. I think the third bit which happens, which happened with the entire world, was the whole tech enablement. And in the tech enablement, while of course the laptops, PCs, table chairs arrived, some of these systems and policies also had to undergo change. And we decided not only to rehash some of them, but redesign a lot of our processes, including onboarding, rewards, and recognition, which were done very physically earlier, had to be very quickly rehashed to be managing it and sustaining it globally. And I think the last bit, which I feel we've done some bit well and still not really fully there, is the whole social connect and the culture building. While there are multiple water cooler sessions and fun sessions and engagements, and bring your kids and bring your pet sort of fun evenings, which were all planned together, we realized that while people who worked together pre-pandemic, their ability to remain resilient, work through with each other, manage the conflicts, manage the frustrations on team calls was far higher. For our freshers, new term, engineers and batch members, it was a lot more difficult. So now that we're through with the pandemic, we're trying to really create the better way together again. I think we're trying to make it better. The way is not very clear, because even now the expectations and the requirements are very, very different. And the funny thing with life is that the pendulum continues to swing and it doesn't stop at the center. So while we were fully in office earlier, then we went fully remote. Now we're wanting to be in the center with a good combination of hybrid. Some want it, some don't want it. And I think we're all trying to really figure it out and balance it together.
Ms. Kapoor, I'll stick with you for a while. I was just talking to one of the students, budding managers over there. What should I ask? And the person said, just a fear. And the fear was, what if I am not attending office in person? Am I losing something?
So, unlike a lot of organizations like, TCS, they really went and said by 2025, 75% of our population is going to be hybrid. We believe that there'll be no one size fit all. We never announced anything of that nature, but in some ways, I'm happy to say that we've been able to sustain the hybrid work. And even as I speak, about 90% of our population continues to be working remotely. I don't think employees really at this point in time through any organization policy process are going to lose anything except the joy, fun, collaboration of being together. But as we move further and we work together, I think there is a resilience and there's a bond and there is a trust which we are able to really build, which not only helps us do what we do. When I started the career, there used to be this engagement question, Gallup 12 engagement question. And one question I still always reflect, do you have a best friend at work? And they always would explain, it doesn't have to be childhood best friend, someone that you can talk to, because, we're going through similar situation scenario. And I think whether we realize it or not, it helps us manage our own career stress and work-life balance a lot better. I don't think, we can recreate it fully. I have a choice of really, being hybrid. I hate the traffic when I go to office, but I love the energy and I love the connect, understanding and trust that we are able to build. If 2 years ago, we would have done the session, we would have done it on Teams. And I'm sure all of you know the difference between watching this on Teams versus being here. It's like listening to, any great musician. Live is live. We can hear the music, but we can't get the feel. So I think it's that aspect which I feel we'll miss.
Major Diali, I would look forward to having a benefit out of your presence in the campus. Can you just help us for a while? Performance appraisal from the other side of the fence, that's Indian Armed Forces. Some light over to each one of us, and then parallelly come down and draw what exactly you have been doing out there at Infinity Learn.
So, performance measurement, when you look at the whole genesis and the way it has been started, earlier it was started by US Army in the late 1960s and before that, where they have started with the merit system. And also in the Indian Army, how it happens is people see in the movies, they go with guns and do shooting and all. That is not the way we measure the performance. Now, we are more into development of a person also, and identifying leadership quotient and leadership development at each individual in the army, so that tomorrow you could lead in the times of war. And leadership could start from any level. Tomorrow there is say, you have to save the country, then even a Sipahi could take the charge of that situation. We call it situational leadership, and fight for the organization, right? So that comes in because of sense of belonging, right? The only thing that separates the defense or the military apart is that sense of belongingness, accountability, and purpose. Your entire team is aligned towards one mission, one vision, one purpose. Nobody deviates beyond that. So come what may, the motivation is intrinsic. Whereas in corporate, you'll have to fit in a lot of external motivation to drive that. You don't have intrinsic motivation, right? So that's why we come up with this performance measurement systems to say, okay, initially in olden days, people used to come and retire from one company. You come on the shop floor or you come to work, your manager would be rude. He will come and say, do this, you have to do it within this many hours, you bloody well do it, right? Then the generation changed and they said, okay, let's now have carrot and stick method. We'll incentivize people for doing well and punish or penalize people for not doing well or not doing the work. Then the Gen Z and millennials, all of you, you are still on that route. So came in, then people realized, oh, no, that is not going to work with the next generation. Then what do we do? Now we talk nicely and say politely, ye karo, let's do this. And be more, try to win them at our side and to create that why. So if, for example, I would take an example of John F. Kennedy. You've heard of him? So John F. Kennedy was visiting NASA when they were sending the first man on the moon. So he was walking down the alley and he saw one janitor. A janitor is a person who is sweeping the floor. He goes to him and he just meets him and says, hello, my name is John F. Kennedy. I'm the president of the United States. Who are you? He says, my name is so-and-so. I'm in a part of a team which is putting man on the moon. Right? So that is his belongingness and purpose. Right? So we want to drive that kind of purpose in our organization. My organization, Infinity Learn, is a NetTech startup. We are just 3 years old, 2.5 to be precise. And we are building that culture. And we've seen, I have a challenge of, because we have done 2-3 mergers and we acquired 2 companies. So we have 3 cultures trying to align into one. So earlier we were doing annual appraisals, mid-year appraisal, rating and such. Now then we switched over to OKRs. So this is one of the framework, like you have 9-box matrix, you have multiple other metrics that you follow, 360-degree feedback or balanced scorecard. What OKR does is we define objectives and key results. And we do weekly check-ins. So everybody is aligned towards first. So the first objective and result is set by the CEO. This is my quarterly objective. This is my quarterly goals, key results that I have to achieve. Now, as a function heads, we pick up those objectives and align ourselves. Then my team aligns to those. So top to down, everybody is aligned towards that goal. So that is what is working right well. And also that is removing that ambiguity of what is to be done, right? And also we don't come to somebody and say, what have you done throughout the year? You're doing continuous feedback, weekly check-ins, monthly check-ins, and your review is there. So somebody is not doing well, you get to know there. You tell them, coach them so that, you don't come later and say you're not done well. The biggest challenge of a manager, you go and ask a manager, is to do a performance review. As a culture, we don't want to be bad. We don't want to come and say, nahi, yaar, sab theek hai, theek. That is what the Indians, we have seen that culture. You are not very, very open and cryptic with feedback. We feel that bura lag jayega samne ko. That other person will feel bad. So the data, now we are being more data driven rather than perception and emotions. That is one change that we are driving here. Thank you.
Thank you, Major. And that's the reason why we all are so very proud of Indian Army for that camaraderie, that team spirit, and one purpose and one life. That's very important. Thank you. Coming over to Shri Pankaj Shankar, we just shared something evolving the work culture, remote working, and the workplace dynamics and all. So in this particular paradigm, how exactly are we embedding technology and making our performance measurement system or performance management itself a workable possible situation?
Well, very good question, sir. So actually this is so relevant. having technology being part of the performance system. So I'll share with the companies, and whether it's fortunately or unfortunately, I've been global HR head for some while now. So this organization, I'm here for last 14 years, and we have a talent base of around 6,500 people. And there are 27 countries national who are working with us. So first of all, performance system, one system doesn't fit for all, as Indu was saying in some other context, but yeah, that's true. I mean, one size doesn't fit for all. So what happens typically in our setup, and then I'll come to the technology side, so when somebody joins the organization, Intellect, so within first 30 days, it is all system driven, so no physical or any printout or something. So first 30 days, the manager and the individual, they have to, it's all predefined goals, as he was alluding to OKR. So whatever you want to objectives, that role objective is defined, it's there in the system. And there are certain blank, rows where the individual can fill as and whenever throughout the year he wants to have some self-learning, some self videos or whatever he wants to. So that also captures certain, but there is no rating which is associated with any of these goals, okay? Because these goals are given. You have to do it as a software engineer or team leader and so on and so forth. Then what happens once the goal is set, it's all, okayed in the system. The individual is, at least he knows that this is what he is going to do. Now the technology comes in. So every 3 months, automatic, the process sets the meeting for the manager and the individual. And in our parlance, it's called performance development dialogue. There is no performance review or performance management, because it's expected, as I said in the beginning, that you will be performing at certain level without fail. Okay, so it's performance development dialogue. It's called PDD. And as I said, I used one word called feed forward. There is no feedback that you are, until some, maybe 5% of the people will have to give that feedback of they are not up to the mark and they are not doing this. Their attitude is showing, bad results and so on and so forth. So it's called performance development dialogue. It's a feed forward, because we as a company of around 6,500, because that's how I deal with, say, somebody we hired in Germany or maybe in London or in Portugal and Turkey and Dubai and so on and so forth. People wants to hear, always remember, each people have got a strength. They want to hear on their strength, and how can they, if something is getting lower shade than that of a strength, then how that can be made as a strength. That is what people are looking for everywhere in the world. Always remember that emotions, feelings are the same, whether you are a Britishers or a German or Indian or American. Everywhere the approach towards the mankind, the human, the expectation is the same. So the system actually drives that meeting, sir. Okay, we do not do any physical meeting, right? Of course, physical meeting, when the meeting is set up, and then if I'm there in the same floor or same vicinity, then the meeting will take place and people will get to it. But the interesting part is that technology actually gives you the set of discussion, development, dialogue, which you will do with your juniors or whatever, that person who is getting assessed. So that is all defined, because see, when you run a company of 30 countries, national, you need to have uniformity in your work approach, right? You cannot be like, suppose Major is my manager and he has got different approach of having a dialogue with me versus Indu versus Amit. Obviously, then you can't create that global workforce and global culture. So that is where the technology side comes, right? And as I was talking to you in the during lunchtime, we do not have a score or rating, because either you get up to certain level, beyond that you won't be able to get. So that way that you talked about that belief and trust. I think the trust and belief has to be a given factor in all our deed, as far as whenever there is a mankind encounters we have. You need to trust yourself, you need to trust others, you need to have believe in yourself and believe in others as you're running the organization. So that's how the performance system is driven in our organization. Now you may have a very pertinent question coming to your mind, that how do you define the compensation and increment and all those stuff. So we have certain, grade-based system, which actually is not coming out from any of the performance ranking or something, but it based on the companies that unit performance or sub-unit performance, or he was talking about his team which he was managing. So that team performance, they have a certain budget, and the manager has got the right, based on the ranking and grading of the individual of his teams, he can decide how much increment to be given. So that's how because it's a international organization, budget driven organization. It's like very fair and simple. So there is nothing, and everybody knows. So, and these all induction while we hire, during the induction, it's all communicated and over communicated so that everybody is prepared. They're not looking for that, okay, I'm expert rated or I'm average or I'm, whatever, and so on and so forth. So that's what I'll submit my.
Thank you, Mr. Shankar. And there is always a thought, one side of the continuum we have, the culture leads to that performance. And the second side, and always says, culture leads to performance and performance leads to culture. I'll come to Indu for an immediate while with a small thought linking my two speakers earlier. How do you ingrain or how do you build the soft element of an organization? More specifically, soft element of the people over there, attitude, aptitude, into performance appraisal?
So, well, there are three basic pillars that we keep in our performance appraisals, which is what, how, and why. I think what is the component of what have you achieved, which is the typical KRAs in terms of performance, measurement, quality, error, and availability, which is common for everyone. The how is what we really peg in our core values, that while everyone ran and achieved certain targets, there are others who enabled many more and exhibited collaboration, exhibited teamwork. There are others who not only enabled others, but did something absolutely unique and displayed innovation. So there are many such values which are also part of the overall, performance management and feedback system. And I think last is as an organization, ITC group in ITC Infotech, we all have a small portion of, the purpose, which is creating a better tomorrow. So we have a program wherein all of us are, encouraged to volunteer and really create the better tomorrow, not just for me, my team, my family, and my organization, but for the larger community. And there are avenues in form of, either the carbon neutral footprint, small volunteering initiatives, or, the water preservation. And each team is enabled to voluntarily pick that up and, become a part of that why. Why are we all really trying to do this together? So I think those are aspects which in performance management really embed the values, embed the why, and make us really, I would say, proud of not only what we do in the day work, but what we do together as an organization.
Thank you. That's another insight for us. Coming back to Mr. Shah, the flip side of it, you must have had some encounter somewhere wherein the things were not really doing good in creating a system for performance management, some challenges you faced, or some outright dash against the wall and you said, sorry, we have to move back.
Yeah. So, so yes, when we measure the performance criteria or KRAs on a continuous feedback basis you take, or half yearly basis, or whatever the frequency you set it. Obviously, the law of average theory is there, and all are not high performers. So organization always talks about high performance culture, high potential, high performance. All these things is been requirement. But then when it is a law of average theory, you will have to find, or you are finding in a system, that 10% of people would be on a average performance base. So, but then, when you have a frequency based discussions like half yearly or yearly discussions, obviously at the end of year, you cannot tell someone to, raise the performance bar of that. So when you have a continuous system of evaluation or feedback, you have a time to put him in performance improvement plan. So after 6 months of time, if his manager aligned with him on achievement that XYZ out of these 5 KRAs or objective, there is a 3 which is not achieved, what needs to be done, then obviously, or in not only this year, in fact, last year also the performance was very average. So it is very clear that he is a non-performer. So we put him, of course, rating would be a low performer. And then we, as a HR and a manager, defines his development areas into it. We give him a time. We chalk out the complete plan for that particular person, how he needs to develop on these areas. And if he comes out from that, he will be again moved to the performer. But then majority of because you rightly asked the last question, which is attitude and aptitude. So the person who doesn't want to work and give his performance to the organization, he will never give, even if you do the continuous, the feedback or you eye on him, but then definitely it will not happen. So finally, if after 3 months of time also it doesn't happen that way, we have to take him out. So that's how the performance improvement plan works out for the company.
Shankar sir, I'll come back to you outrightly immediately. Some problems, some impediments when you try to integrate technology into the performance management system. Any experience you had?
See, I always believe, and all of us at our leadership level in the organization, that technology is an enabler. It is not the solution of everything, right? Because after all, the human element, it has to, for example, these days we hear about ChatGPT, and today, as I was talking to Professor Prasher and one of the teacher of somebody who teaches you IT and all, there is something which has been just came, which could be the strongest competitor of ChatGPT is through Meta AI. It's being called Code Llama or something. You might be, getting to hear very shortly. It is perhaps the far higher version of what ChatGPT can do. So technology is ever evolving, ever changing, and it has to work in favor of the organization, and it has to be for the benefit of the people. As far as some of the challenges is concerned, yes, sir, we do have challenges of people adopting to technologies. Particularly some countries, as we deal with many different kind of nationalities. Some people are very rigid for taking technology on because they are not willing to budge an inch. And as you want to be, being a global organization, you have to accommodate and you have to understand why they are so. I can tell you, like Middle East side, that's very difficult. Malaysia, for instance, or even for some part of Africa, they do not believe actually, because still they have to see the benefit of those technologies or any such sort of things. But people like American or Europe or our people in France or Germany, they would be knowing more than what I could tell them or any of my team could tell them. So, but the challenges you have to overcome by making, showing them the benefit and some progress as to what it will be. And but being an IT organization, I must share, and some of my esteemed panel would agree with me, that everything is system driven. Whether I have to log in my efforts, then it is something called Jira or something you might be hearing. And then we do have productivity measurement tools for all base. For most of the junior section of our talent, it's called Sapiens. So a lot of these things, even Capgemini, I remember Sapiens as a productivity tool. So he worked in Capgemini too. That's why I'm referring to him. So the productivity tools are for the mass level of people, but not for the, I would say, mid management or higher. But yeah, some challenges keeps coming. But once you show the benefit of technology, people agree.
Yeah, that reminds me of a lady shouting at her son, "Food is ready. It's on the dining table. It's on the table. It's on the table." And the boy won't listen. And husband tells her, "Put it out there on the WhatsApp." And that's their final. Indu, coming back to you finally, last 2 or 3 tips you would like to tell my students over there, how to harness the 2 words, technology, as sir has already shared, is an enabler. into the system that is performance management.
Technology into performance management or hybrid into performance management. I think one aspect that we are trying to also keep, very much in sight, and, when we launched this framework called IWFA, it was called work from anywhere. And within few months, there were those fun jokes. My team came and said, Indu, do you know, we've got a second name to IWFA? And I said, what's that? And he told me that people sometimes call it work forever. So I think sometimes technology really, gets into the zone of invasion. Whether we know it, don't know it, like it, not like it, realize it, not realize it. But I think like organizations and as individuals, for us to really remain very cognizant that we don't allow it to happen. And I see it with my young daughters as well. And the youngest one is 14. So I, sometimes, jokingly, when I don't want to, bug her by taking her phone away, we've developed a code saying that she's the tech zombie. So she knows that, basically she's just moving with the phone. And I think it can happen with the laptops, with the calls and everything. We're so much engrossed, or, we don't even realize when we'll get burnt out. And we've all seen that. So I think keeping that boundary wherein, the social connect, the fun, the joy, and the whole collaboration of working together has to remain in forefront, enabled by the leadership and by the culture. I think the only other aspect I would want to call out is isolation versus digital exhaustion. When you're working digitally, it can get into the zone of absolute isolation. There are people who don't prefer to talk to too many people, including my middle daughter, who's a painter and doesn't want to even go down to, pick up her own courier because she doesn't want to talk to people. And a lot of times we just nudge her, make more friends. And I think that is very true. A lot of times people get into that zone of isolation or into the exhaustion. So how do we really create org boundaries and culture which keeps us away from those two ends are aspects that I believe all of us have to keep in foresight.
Major Diali, 2 or 3 words of caution managing performance in the organization.
So firstly is, when we use technology with the hybrid work culture, we have a lot of people in office, a lot of roles working from home, working from their hometowns. And so people those who are working from home, sometimes they have a lot of this FOMO, that am I missing out on something? Something's happening in office. Did I miss out on something? Right. And so to incorporate them in our daily routine, daily progress, daily work is one challenge, which definitely with the help of technology, we are trying to solve that out. However, the adoption of technology in our country as such, people use technology to our favor. They tend to tweak it many times. I don't know, as in what the, as a country, I would say I can't be biased, but we are data averse because data exposes you, right? If I'm doing something good, if I'm not doing something good, the data and technology exposes your work, exposes your entire performance. So people set mediocre goals. The challenge is in the mindset. So they don't want to go for a moon. They want to go to a sky level. So the mindset to set benchmark, high benchmark, so people, what they do is they try to fit in the middle, set mediocre goals, so they overachieve. And they say, I'm a performer, I'm an achiever. So it cannot be that everybody is an achiever, but the organization is not an achiever, right? Everybody is a star, but organization is suffering losses. So to bring that balance is a challenge, which we have worked out our ways and methods with bringing in meaning and the purpose to each and every employee and telling them what they are doing and how that is impacting the lives of learners all across the country.
Quite interesting interviewing over there. So we ultimately have few points like OKR, SIM, work from anywhere, and then there was enlightenment in terms of being enabler over there for the performance. I'll immediately move to the other side of the audience now, rather towards the audience. And I request my students to raise your hands, and immediately introduce yourself and tell us whom you want to direct the question on and ask your question. So I can see the lady over there. Okay, we can start from this side. Yeah. You can ask, otherwise also be loud.
Ask without mic also, we'll hear.
It's open.
Well, we haven't introduced AI into performance management as yet, but what we have introduced it in is, for example, the whole analysis of employee engagement survey. You have a large data set, different segments, group, word cloud, sentiments. So what we learned is that we could feed the entire data into the AI engine. And just like a conversation with a wise professor, you ask the engine, what are the top 5 trends? What are the 3 suggestions? What is the analytics group 3 recommendation? What is the tenure wise recommendation and city wise, and every possible question that one can really ask. You just have to ask and it gives you beautiful results, word clouds, and details. So I think that's something, which we've started to really work upon. The other area that we're trying to really work this upon is the hypo identification. People who have done very well and you have the data and you're trying to really identify them. The third area is the early warning signal. People who haven't attended any trainings, people who've probably put in less hours, people who've struggled with the training. All of this is a very dispersed set of data. When you really put that together, you really know that something is not going well with the individual. And if you can prompt the manager to say, have a conversation and figure out what's the early warning sign and turn that around, are few areas that we're trying to use technology a lot more than what we used to do earlier.
So
Okay,
also
go ahead.
to add on to what Indu said, so we have as an organization introduced AI bots, those who interact with the employees. Yeah, we call the person chief listening officer of the organization. So people do not have any hesitance to interact with that chatbot. They can ask any questions. They have set of algorithm which interacts with the employees at the random frequent intervals, and they get us all the feedback. So we also get a lot of detailed analysis like engagement score, how engaged the employee is, mood score, what is the mood of the organization today, and then the entire analysis and data comes to HR. Then our life is difficult. How do we increase that level to next level? Right? So we have to work really hard on that and say, okay, next month I have to take this as a target to increase this to the next level. So yeah, that's very, very interesting feedback that is coming in, and we have interesting times wherein we can't just do away with few engagement activities and fun on the floor. We have to be more meaningful and committed to drive engagement on the floor to the employees and make them feel recognized, make them feel rewarded and reward on time, and that will help them to perform better. Yeah, that answers the question.
I'll just add maybe, so whatever both of my panel said, it's absolutely where we are also, but some of the places where we are using AI. First of all, you asked a very relevant question. So very, very good. So 2 places we are doing it. One is while hiring manager and above. So how does that help is that we have a system. I mean, you need to feed the basic details and this, that, other, and how has been his experience, some of the key components of his experience, and it gets captured. And that process, that AI tells you whether he is what level of fitment he is at. And of course, there is an interview process and so on and so forth. So that piece of supporting help from AI is where we are currently as of now for manager and some of the leadership level hiring. The second is where we have in terms of promotions. Promotions, we are fully using AI. It's not only what major recommends from me or Amit is talking about Hindu and so on and so forth, but basically that position vis-a-vis what this gentleman brings on the table, that actually defines whether he will be able to go to the elevated to the next level or not. So these two places, other in performance appraisal system, barring the online system, there is I do not see any AI as of now. Maybe gradually we could see some of those things coming, but these two places, yes. And as an IT organization, we do have we call it as a SARA, what Major was saying, anything you can ask and all those stuff. What about leave, my this, my promotion, my increment, anything, whatever you want to talk. It's a chief listening officer in our organization. It's called SARA. That's what I'll say. Thank you.
The second one, the lady over there.
Good evening, panel. This is Anandita Datta from PGP batch 2325. So my question is in lines of the discussion of how post-COVID, the fresher recruitment employees are lacking in connect and require more effort on those lines. So compared to Indian students who are more focused on academics and online courses, overseas students work part-time or hands-on freelancing before they actually get a job. So they are more professionally ready, proactive, and attuned to organization. So what is this impact of academia and online training focused structure on our productivity or performance evaluation? And how should one navigate this dilemma of freshers or experience during recruitment process? Anyone, sir?
Yeah. So the question, what basically the learning, online learning is like, whether it is a fresher or whether it is a people, those who are competent people in the system, because learning never ends. That is first thing. And we have created a ecosystem to every employee who comes to work with our organization has got more than 10,000 online courses available for the people, which talks about behavioral training, technical competency, technical training, functional, everything is there. Looking to this particular COVID situation, a lot of improvement has happened. So to answer your question, I think freshers, be it fresher or be it regular employee, training plays a very important role to enhance the skill, enhance the competency, and every organization should promote this particular training, continuous training to every employee. I think I have answered your question. Thank you.
And also, when we look at hiring freshers from the campuses or anywhere, we look at the, your temperament and your attitude and learnability. Learnability is something that is, we look at where we can train the person. And that will be those doing multiple courses and doing something additional is just one of your proof that, yes, I could do this. I have achieved this in this sort of period of time. And also it sets you apart from the rest of the crowd, that what different that you're offering, because everybody it's same. When you get into IIM after, cracking the CAT and, coming with that kind of intellect and the hard work that you've done. So more or less everybody is in the same batch, same cohort. What differentiates you from the rest of the cohort plays a major role while hiring and putting you up for when you come for the interviews. Yeah.
So one thing you also take from this question is that you also be ready that whichever organization you are going to join, by and large, you will have certain set of certifications during your first 2-3 months of the joining. It goes without saying whether it carries the technical or softer skill or about the organization or about the product and so on and so forth. So it's very standard. Like in our organization, we do have, the certain functional, it's called functional certification and technical certification on various domain, various functionality. For example, my daughter works for a company called Slumberger, right? So you believe me, every day she has to go through certain 10 certification. Okay. It's all online. So, and it will go at least for first 3 months or first 6 months of her joining. And she just joined last month. So in all organization, in all practicality, in all possibility, you should be mentally prepared that you have to go through the certification and technical or functional, whatever, whichever organization. Nowadays, every organization has got programs which are very mandatory for all the, we don't call any fresher as a fresher, we call them as a fintech engineer, so that you get the little elevation in terms of how you are approached by the organization. And not only this, but also for our seniors like vice president or above, there are at least 2 or 3 in a year. They have to qualify for some domain and some technical certification, like some technical platform and so forth. So I think that is the anyway ongoing demand of the industry that will continue, and further it will develop and so on and so forth.
Just want to add the last point to comfort you, Anindita, is that there are organizations who also provide additional immunity, as we call, to the freshers. That means for the initial 9 to 12 months, while for a lateral hire, if they don't get deployed and there are 2 interviews, 3 interviews with clients and other things, it's called saying that there's something off with the fitment, and they are reevaluated. For freshers, that immunity is provided for a year. So your first year is meant to learn, experiment, and really gain skills. And on similar ends, there's an immunity on the performance as well, that no one can ding you beyond a certain level. It was a year which was supposed to be invested for your learning. So there are those, I would say, additional safety nets that organization build to ensure that when you hire a person, you also really, give a digital buddy and a human buddy and trainings, and of course the immunity to ensure that they continue to perform.
Thank you. Just before taking any question, my request to the panel, this is the last panel for this summit, starting with Mr. Shankar. I just want you to help the students take 2 or 3 note points saying thereby, given technical skills equivalent, academic skills, they are competent. What is that you look into them before taking them on board?
It's a direct question from me and my team. We are going to come and hire from IIM Raipur. So direct question by sir. So put your hand together for sir. Very intelligent question. This will help you to answer while we come. See, I have noted down 5-7 points. Of course, sir was not knowing that, and neither I was knowing, but I just thought maybe that will help. So let me just tell you, I'm very practical guy, so I'll tell you the things which I do. So we go to Oxford, okay? Oxford in London. Let me tell you, I think the kind of inquisitiveness you all have, the kind of, he mentioned about, hungry for learning or learnability, those students they don't have. They don't have. They are very rigid and very specific to some level of learning only. Unlike Indians, we have like plethora of, our mind is always open for new and newer things. So that's a very big differentiator as a DNA you all carry. Okay. Now coming to the just specific answer to sir. So I'll tell you the thing which actually for last 30 years, which I have been telling many young students like you and young managers. Please remember, if you do not communicate what you know as a panel, as an interviewer, I won't be able to understand you. So you need to be smart enough to communicate, or rather a better way of putting across is articulation of your thoughts, articulation of your business thoughts, which actually is the essence of entire dialogue, whether it's an interview or anything else. The second piece is always have that flexibility and attitude, examples which should evolve and evaporate from your body language, so that we are able to understand that, yes, in our parlance, in our culture, in our organization, this gentleman will be able to adjust, and he has that flexibility to adopt the kind of culture we want to create. The third thing is always set your expectation vice versa. Like I'm looking for you in so many things. You also should have certain parameters to check on the companies or the panels who come, because we want to have what? We want to have a win-win situation for both the parties. It's not only me hiring and you looking for a job and you come and after a few months you get frustrated and you leave the job. Win-win situation. And associated to win-win situation is, I always firmly believe and very strongly, I have been telling some of you, please invest at least a reasonable amount of years in the organization which takes you. And when I say reasonable, at least 3 to 5 years, any organization, all of you may feel that, other organizations are very, very good and my colleague is working there, this, that, other. But based on our experience, if I can say so on behalf of all of us here, that if you do not invest in 3 to 5 years of your first job, you do not learn anything. The first 18 months will be just understanding the organization. That's the third one. The fourth one is always look up to your manager for that, because he needs to be successful, then only you will be successful. If your manager is not successful in the system, which you may not be able to figure out while in the process of interview, but you have to have some depth of organization where you are going to make your career. So that will give you actually some answer on the line which I said. And the last one is always be technology savvy. There is no escape route, guys. I am MBA pass out long time back, but still, as I said, in our organization, we have to go through 2-3 certification. For people like me, I have to go through some platform certification. Platform is like technology platform, not a product, because I don't know C++, Java. Maybe I would know a bit, but not in the kind of coding language. So all of you, please, that differentiator between those sitting at Far East and all those countries, you are technically far superior than any one of them. Okay. Only thing is that you please keep repeating this habit of taking technology, carrying technology along with your management qualification. That is how you will create the differentiator. No matter what, whichever technology is coming, India is pioneer. People like you only make us pioneer. But please remember, going forward, they are also picking up. So technology is something which actually will be the differentiator between you and others. So please carry this. I'm sure all of you have a very bright future. Thank you.
So very indebted to you, sir. I would request my friend Amit Shah, kindly share 1 or 2 if you feel something more to be added.
What Mr. Pankaj has said, the attitude, which is very important at this stage, because I know you must have worked in some of the companies before coming to IIM. But then, now when you are going out and taking up the job, first, as a fresher, any company would look into your working attitude as well as learning attitude. So that is 2 things which is very important. Apart from what Mr. Pankaj has said, definitely the organizations would like to see a innovative mindset. So if you have to be different, definitely you should carry that particular innovative mindset. And rest all 5-6 things what Pankaj said, I completely agree with.
Major Dali.
So what we are a just 3-year-old company startup, and we are growing fast, and we are growing because of young crowd that is working with us. Majority, a lot of people from ISB, IIM, IITs, and NITs. We have that cohort in our organization, and we thrive because of those kind of problem solvers. So as an organization, what we look at 3 things. Firstly is, are you a problem solver? In your discussion, in your entire journey, that whatever you had till now, do you have traces of being a problem solver, right? Are you going to solve real life problems? Are you going to impact the society by whatever you're doing, right? So that is one thing that we look for. Second thing is hunger for learning, the curiosity and hunger for learning. Are you ready to learn more? Are you hungry for getting knowledge? That is second. And thirdly is communication. Communication doesn't mean you have to speak impeccable English. I have had instances when I'll take an example of one of the premier IITs. I've taken one candidate who could not speak in English properly, but he's doing fantastic job at my company. He's building amazing products. Only thing we see is I told him in an entire interview, switch to Hindi. Shuru ho jao Hindi mein. Then he gave entire interview in Hindi, but he could communicate flawlessly. Whatever you communicate doesn't mean you have to speak in English, but the clarity of thought has to cross to the next person there. If you can speak in broken English, your regional language, whatever, clarity of thought, what you want to convey, that should reach to the other person. Don't bother about grammar. ChatGPT will give you better sentences, right? So even my HR team, there are a lot of people have suddenly started writing beautiful lines. I see in the letters and emails, I say, when did you start this? All thanks to ChatGPT. So yeah, so just these things we look for: communication, clarity of thought, problem-solving skills, and learnability. Thank you.
Final words from Ms. Indu.
I'll keep it simple. Three things that all of you have, all of us have, but we must display and leverage it well, which is mind, heart, and gut. Do we have the perseverance? Do we have the resilience in our minds to be able to push through any target that we have taken, be it studies, extracurricular, or any project or assignment that you have taken? How well have you performed? How have you really, captured it? What are your passions? What are your beliefs? What is your individual point of view and stand that you would like to really share with the organization, with the world, and having the courage through the gut to be able to say it and stand by it and say, this is what I stand for, are simple things which I think make any individual, and of course, such young, bright minds, professionals, I think it'll be a pleasure for any organization to guys have you on board, but keep that check and know that what you carry in your heart, mind, and gut really matters. You don't have to really go through their side to learn about their stuff only. They need to know you. So be proud of yourself and carry it well. And as I think my panel members said, your communication and attitude, of course, will take you far ahead. All the very best to all the students. And thank you so much for inviting all of us and, being with us. Thank you.
So how much is your experience? 5 years. And the question was, is it 5 years or 1 year multiplied 5 times? And that's where the role of learning, we must keep learning. So closing over here with the thought that it's the time to unveil strategies that are there to synergize all the realms being put across to each one of us. And we are to foster towards improving employee performance. But as of today, for each one of us being students, performance at our level in the current roles, and very importantly, bringing triumph to the country that we belong and the world's fastest and the growing economy. Thanks each one of the panel members sparing your time, more so on Sunday, coming down all the way to Raipur. And we look forward to hosting you again and again in this particular campus, not just the basic touch point of summer placements or final placements, what even to listen to you more often and more often. Thank you. Over to MCs.
That was indeed an enriching discussion. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all our panel members for their valuable insights on the topic.
I now request Professor Ramkumar Kakani, Director IIM Raipur, and Professor Rashmi Shukla, Chairperson Placement, to felicitate the panelists with a memento and certificate from IIM Raipur, thanking them for gracing us with their presence in this HR Summit. Shri Amit Shah, Ms. Indu Kapoor, Major Manohar Diali, Sri Pankaj Shankar. I now request Professor Rashmi Shukla to felicitate the moderator, Professor Sanjeev Parashar, with a memento.
We would now request all the dignitaries to gather for a photograph. We kindly request the dignitaries to take their seats in the audience. We will be shortly beginning with the valedictory session.
Good evening, esteemed dignitaries, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It is rightly quoted, handling farewells in HR involves embracing that each exit is a new beginning. With these insightful words, I, Payal Shah,
and I, Siddharth Kumar Singh,
of PGP Batch 2325, on behalf of IIM Raipur, thank you all for gracing IIM Raipur's flagship event, the 7th HR Summit 2023. We now proceed towards the valedictory session. I would like to kindly invite Professor Ramkumar Kakani, Director, IIM Raipur, and Professor Rashmi Shukla, Chairperson, Placements, IIM Raipur, to the stage and unveil the SIP and FP brochure 2023.
I would now request Professor Rashmi Shukla, Chairman, Placements, IIM Raipur, to deliver the final vote of thanks.
Thank you, Siddharth. Okay. And once again, it's with something that we started 60 days in advance with a lot of thought process going inside with the finalization of theme. And we received a constant guidance and mentoring from our director, sir, Professor Kakani, and our Dean External and Dean Academics in shaping the summit. So the seed of this summit was sown some 7 years back, and with today we are able to finally do it successfully, the 7th HR Summit. And next year the planning will already started. We have already started thinking in lines what we are going to do for the next year 8th HR Summit. And we have just revealed and launched our summer internship and final placements brochure. So I again am heartfully thankful to the esteemed corporate people who have come and joined us and graced these 2 days with IIM Raipur. And again, I'm going to invite you with your multiple level engagement, not only for the recruitment drives, but also for, as Professor Parashar was just sharing, that it's not only guest lectures, it's not only management development program or our case house for jointly or on collaborating to write stories about industry and bringing it to classroom. So apart from these couple of other engagements that we have already planned, and we are happy to share that we will be reaching out on these lines with you shortly. Okay, and again, it's time for me to say thanks to many people who have been involved in this. So it's a time for us to say thank you to our corporate, not only those corporates who have come here for the first time, but also to those corporates who have been coming here. So it's time for us to say a wonderful, heartful thank you to them for coming here. And especially the weekends, we understand how difficult it is. But again, once again, very thankful for you joining us. And the people who are not here, like who have been here with us yesterday. Okay, the full day, we had 3 wonderful sessions yesterday, and we had 3 wonderful panel today. So especially our chief guest who agreed and he not only to come here, but yesterday full day he was with us, sitting in all panels, and he has given wonderful insights, not only the student, but also to the other corporate people over here. So Shri Chandrajit Pati, I'm extremely thankful to him. Okay, so then our all panel members who were there present yesterday, so I'm thankful to them and all who are here right now. Again, very much thank you. The moderators who agreed to, again, not only coordinate the session, but to give some interesting perspective to session by linking it to learnings of classroom and also connecting it back to the industry. So from my heart, I'm thankful to all the moderators who agreed and who spent their time and efforts in for our students to root the discussion very carefully. Then I'm thankful to our student community, especially the volunteers who from not only the student placement committee, second year and first year students, but also the media and public relation committee, the Pixel committee, the IT committee. Like these people are just around not only during the summit, but before the summit preparation and even after the summit, they are the ones who are directly involved in this. So they were also, I am happy to share, there were almost 55 plus student volunteers who were tirelessly working for this. From past 45 days, the entire team in terms of our first year placement student, second year placement student, they have been tirelessly working on these lines to manage this event flawlessly. And then again, I'm very much thankful to the extremely generous support that we have received from Director Sir and his office and the top management of our institute to have a wonderful, seamless experience, not only for the panelists who have come, but also for students to make sure that they are taking the best out of these 2 days. And I will be failing to pay my thanks if I'm not going to talk about the administration support, especially from the IT maintenance department, the chief administrative officers and his team. And then we have especially we have a student affairs committee and their department who have been constantly working around. We have our PGP office and they have a team academic committee. There also the students have been tirelessly working towards these things. It's a long list. If I keep on going, it's going to take much more time. But yes, once again, very much thankful to all the people who have been involved to make this summit a grand success. Then my team from corporate development and placement office. So we have Shri Suryanarayan Shankaran and then Shri Girishji, okay, who have just, they have been the pillars of the office. Then we have Shri Vaishakji. You must be around non-stop, day in, day out, working for this. Then from office, from our administrative staff also, we have wonderful volunteers who have been handling the stage activities in other events. They volunteered on themselves to take this forward. So I will be failing if I'm not taking their name. So Shri Rashmi, Shri Deepti, Shri Ganesh, Shri Anand, and couple of others, including Shri Harshadji from PGP office. Okay, so these were the ones who are not present here on stage, but they are the ones who are behind to make this event a grand success. Okay, and so with this, I think it's time to say a goodbye to the corporate people around. But with this, I'm again requesting for multiple level of engagements with IIM Raipur. And we will be, my team is going to reach you very shortly for planning your next visit very soon. So once again, thank you very much. Have a great evening. Okay, thank you. And my students, I am 100% sure that you have not only learned a couple of things very crucial, critical for you, not only from what industry expects you, but also how you should consciously be behaving in your life. So these are the discussions that we keep on doing in our classrooms, that how consciously you need to think forward and be careful about the choices that you are making in your life. And thank you for joining in here and taking the best out of these 2 days of HR Summit. With this, I will take a pause. Thank you so much. Okay.
We extend our sincerest regards to everyone who contributed to the success of this event. With this, we conclude our flagship event, the 7th HR Summit of IIM Raipur. We hope to see you again next year. So I would request the students to be seated until the guests leave. Everyone, after all the students exit the auditorium, I would request all the PLACECOM members, including the SPCs and the JPCs, to assemble here in the next 10 to 15 minutes.
All the students can now leave.